I walked into my local shop last week and damn near dropped my coffee. 22 LRs and 5.56 were priced like it was 2019 again. Ammo prices have straight up crashed, and if you're not stacking now, you might kick yourself when the tariffs hit. What's up, everyone? This is Ted from Line 45, and today I'll be naming some of the calibers that just got stupid cheap this 2025. Before I start, I would really appreciate it if you would push those buttons below. The subscribe button, the notification bell, all of them. This is not necessary, but those little clicks help a brother out. Plus, it pushes me to give you more valuable gun-related content on your screen. Now, buckle up, and let's get back to the video. 9mm Luger FMJ. If you shoot regularly, you know 9mm is your bread and butter. It feeds everything from Glocks to SIGs, Hellcats to Canics. And right now, it's finally affordable again. 9mm FMJ is sitting around $0.20 to $0.23 per round, and that's a damn good price. I checked AmmoSeek, Target Sports USA, and Palmetto State Armory. Real-time prices, no guesswork. You can grab a 1,000-round case of Magtech or Cellier & Bello brass-cased 115 grain for under $230 shipped. Even remaining stuff from Freedom Munitions is floating around $190 if you're looking to save a little more. That's a far cry from the 2021 madness, when panic buyers were coughing up $0.70 to $0.90 per round. This isn't some clearance gimmick either. Supplies stabilized and manufacturers caught up. The market's loaded with consistent stock from Federal, Blazer, Winchester, PMC, and more. Steel case stuff is even cheaper. But for me, it's not worth the extra grime in the chamber. If you're training, running drills, or just staying sharp, this is your green light. I burned through 500 rounds last week doing draw to first shot reps, and for the first time in a while I didn't flinch about the cost. What makes this a sweet spot is the predictability. 9mm demand stays high, and when prices drop like this, it's usually short-lived. So if you've got the room to store and you actually shoot, now's the time to stock up. 223 Remington, 5.56 NATO. I've run enough ARs to know one thing. If you're not buying your 223 or 5.56 in bulk, you're doing it wrong. This stuff disappears quickly when you're zeroing optics, running defensive drills, or even doing basic carbine classes. And in 2025, for the first time in years, prices are finally sane again. We're seeing consistent listings for 55 grain FMJ between $0.32 and $0.38 per round, with some remanufactured stuff dipping into the $0.29 range if you're buying 500-plus rounds. I cross-checked listings on AmmoSeek, SG Ammo, and PSA, and brands like PMC, Federal, Wolf Gold, and Fiocchi are showing steady inventory. For brass-cased, boxer-primed ammo, the kind you can reload later, you're looking at about $320 to $350 per 1,000 S, and that's almost half of what it cost in late 2021. When this same ammo was touching $0.60 to $0.70 a round. And if you're not picky, steel-case Tulamo or Barnaul can still be found under 30 cents, though it's less common now with Russian imports throttled. This is what I call the AR owner's sweet spot. It's cheap enough to shoot regularly but stable enough not to worry about backorder panic. For those of us running classes, tuning builds, or just keeping skills sharp, this pricing means one thing. More range time, fewer excuses. My last crate from SG Ammo landed in 2 days and cost less than a nice dinner. So if you own anything chambered in 5.56, this is the time to pile deep before the election cycle kicks prices up again. 22 LR. You want to know what ammo makes me grin like a kid? That's the 22 long rifle, of course. There's something about rolling through a brick of it in an afternoon that just hits right. And apparently, 2025 has brought 22 LR back to where it belongs. Dirt cheap and easy to find. Right now, you can snag 500-round bulk packs for $30 to $38, depending on the brand. That's around 6 to 8 cents a round. I'm seeing Aguila, Blazer, and CCI Standard Velocity floating all over AmmoSeek and Lucky Gunner at those prices. Even Remington Thunderbolt and Federal Automatch are popping up closer to 5 cents a round if you buy in big buckets. These are reliable plinking rounds, too. Not sketchy rimfire that misfires every third shot. I ran a full box of CCI mini-mags through my Ruger Mark IV last weekend, with 0 issues. The ammo shortage during the pandemic had folks panic buying rimfire like it was gold. Now, it's back in force, with plenty of options in high velocity, subsonic, or standard loads. And the best part is how versatile the 22 LR is. It's what I use to train new shooters, stretch out trigger time on a budget, and even do small game pest control. It won't be your self-defense go-to, but for everything else, it's unbeatable. When prices are this low and inventory is stable, there's no excuse not to grab a brick or two while you still can. 40SW. I'll be honest, 40S&W doesn't get the love it used to. Back in the day, every law enforcement agency was swapping their duty guns for 40s. Now, most of them switched back to 9mm, and that left a flood of surplus pistols and a big dip in demand. But that dip? That's your opportunity. Right now, in 2025, 40S and WFMJ practice ammo is going for $0.28 to $0.36 per round, which is nuts when you consider it used to run over 50 cents just 2 years ago. I just ordered a 500-round case of 180-grain Blazer brass for $149 shipped. That's 29.8 cents a round. And this isn't steel case or seconds. It's clean, brass-cased, boxer-primed ammo that cycles smoothly through my M&P 40. Brands like PMC, Federal, and Fiocchi are all in stock with similar pricing across retailers. There are even JHP loads sitting under 50 cents a round, which makes it one of the cheapest calibers to stock for both training and defense. People sleep on the 40, but if you've got an older Glock 22 or a used SIG P229 you scored on the cheap, now's the time to make it earn its keep. No crowd, no backorder madness, and prices are low because the crowd moved on. Me? I don't mind running against the grain if it means I can train twice as much for the same cash. 7.62 x 39mm. I've always had a soft spot for 7.62 by 39mm. Maybe it's the bark, maybe it's the recoil, maybe it's just the soul of an AK that makes you want a mag dump. But for a while there, this round got real pricey. Once the Biden-era Russian import ban hit in 2021, guys with SKSs and AKMs started sweating hard. Wolf, Tula, and Barnaul, the cheap stuff, I know, vanished or skyrocketed. But here's the truth now. In 2025, prices are finally leveling off again. Right now, you can grab Steelcase 7.62 from Serbia, Romania, and even some newer Turkish outfits for around $0.32 to $0.38 per round. SG Ammo has Golden Tiger back in stock. PSA has been pushing Belome and Igman brass-cased options around $400 for 1,000 rounds. I grabbed a 500-round case of Red Army Standard earlier this year at 35 cents per round shipped, and it ran just fine through my WASR with iron sights. Sure, it's not quite as dirt cheap as it was pre-ban when you could find it under 25 cents, but compared to the $0.50 plus panic pricing we saw just a year or two ago, I'll take this all day long. Plus, it's consistent again. None of that notify me nonsense every time you try to check out. If you're still sitting on an AK or a Mini 30, now's the time to stop babying it. Ammo's flowing again, and it's cheaper than most of the NATO stuff out there. 308 Winchester. If you shoot a 308, you've probably winced at the price tags lately. I sure did. For a while there, it felt like the 308 was priced like gold. Even low-tier FMJ stuff was hitting 90 cents to $1 a round during the shortage. But now, we're back to more reasonable territory, especially on bulk ball ammo. Right now, I'm seeing solid brass-cased FMJ from PMC, Magtech, and Cellier and Belote floating between $0.50 to $0.60 per round when bought in 200 or 500-round cases. I personally pulled a 200-round battle pack of SB 147-grain FMJ from Target Sports USA for $112, which is 56 cents a round, and it shot smoothly through my Moan Ampere. You're not going to get hunting grade or match 308 for cheap. That stuff's still running over $1 a round. But for training, battle rifle drills, or just feeding your FAL or AR-10, these prices finally make sense again. Even the steel case options like Barnaul or Belome have re-entered the market in the 45-cent range, depending on availability. 308s are not cheap like 9mm or 223, but compared to how brutal it got during peak shortages, this is your green zone. If you run a 308 rifle and actually shoot it, versus just admiring it in the safe, it's worth grabbing a few cases while it's still hovering at these post-dip levels. 12-gauge target loads. You know what feels good? Walking into a sporting goods store and seeing 12-gauge birdshot stacked high again, and not behind the counter with a one box per customer sign. For a while, 12-gauge was just as scarce as rifle ammo, and the prices went sky high. But in 2025, target and bird loads are back to normal, and in some spots, even cheaper than before. Bulk packs from Federal, Winchester, and Remington are hovering around $0.32 to $0.38 per shell, especially if you're grabbing 100-round or 250-round value packs. I just grabbed a 100-round box of Winchester Super Target 1-1 8-ounce 7.5 shot at Walmart for $34. That's 34 cents per shell. You can't beat that if you're into trap, skeet, or just blasting soda cans behind the barn. Even better, AmmoSeek shows consistent inventory across online shops like Rogers Sporting Goods and Midway USA. They've got estate loads, Game and Target, and Rio Royal, all in the same sweet price range. Now, if you're shopping buckshot or slugs, yeah, those are still a bit steep, hovering closer to $0.90 to $1.25 a shell. But for high-volume shooters or anyone just trying to stay sharp with their Mossberg or Benelli, these birdshot prices are finally in that buy-a-case territory again. Clay ranges are open, inventory's stable, and the shelves aren't empty anymore. If you've been holding out waiting for shotgun shells to make sense again, this is it. 5.45 x 39mm. If you own an AK-74, you already know the struggle. After the Russian ammo ban, 5.45 by 39mm vanished almost overnight. I remember watching cases of Tula go from 19 cents a round to over 70, if you could even find it. It was brutal. Fast forward to today, and we've finally got some breathing room. Prices aren't dirt cheap, but they've stabilized in the $0.38 to $0.45 per round range. That's a far cry from peak panic prices. And yes, it's actually in stock now, no more ghost listings. Right now, Barnaul 60-grain FMJ is back through channels like SG Ammo and Global Ordnance. You'll also see Red Army Standard and Ballome popping up, usually brass-cased and priced a bit higher, closer to 50 cents a round. But the steel case stuff is where the savings are. I picked up a 750-round can of Barnaul for $285 shipped. That's 38 cents per round. Not quite old-school cheap, but very livable if you shoot this platform seriously. AmmoSeek confirms that 5.45 is still low volume compared to 7.62 or 5.56, but it's trending upward as importers stabilize their lines. Turkey, Serbia, and Ukraine are starting to step into the void, and that's what's keeping it on shelves. If your AK-74 has been sitting in the safe because of the ammo drought, now's the time to get it dirty again. This may not be the golden age of 5.45, but it's the most affordable we've seen since the import hammer dropped, and who knows how long that window stays open.